today. I can't imagine my price today. Niggas been thinking for eyes today. Never been thinking about price today. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my family my business. I'm a brand of my business. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my family my business. I'm a brand of my business. I don't smoke.
I will bring you back the land. Mr. Tawang, thank you so much for this interview, and it means a lot to me, whereby I grew up from this hand in terms of politics. Now you can see that you are now reaping your fruits, whereby you took me, you settled with me down, you told me, no, young man, this is how it goes. This is what you must do. I remember one day you have forgotten, you once told me within politics, you don't say, I will kill you, but you rather say, I will die without a fight. I won't die without a fight. So here am I today. I've found my space in the spectrum of politics, whereby I engage with individuals in terms of politics and other cardinal pillars that I work upon, because you nurtured me. So it's an honor whereby I give you your flowers while you're still around, you know. You are a former Deputy President General of Tshwane University of Technology. But before we get there, I would like us that in Live Season TV, you brief us about yourself. Where do you come from? How was it? How was the background? And we can add up more.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me firstly start by saying, I'm inspired by seeing one of the comrades that I nurtured on an early stage upon their arrival in the university. It's a very good honor for me to see one of the cadres that they arrived at my disposal. That today they are here trying to get some interior knowledge about the political space that we were within in the current years. I'm a very young man from a very rural place called Ramaphosa in Limpopo, whereby I can say growing up it was not as bad as it, but during to the material conditions that prevailed previously, we are from villages. We never had that opportunity whereby we shared a lot of materialistic things that are very conducive compared to other people. But that on its own, it was a lesson that gave an encouragement to me to work hard and to make sure that my offsprings do not at any cost do not become victims of the struggle that I went through. But nevertheless, I think Ramaphosa have been made famous by having so many artists at this current state. But yeah, that's all I can say about my upgrowing.
So to a kid who's also out there trying by all means to find herself in the space whereby you coming from that place whereby he's also pursuing her dreams or her goals or his goals, what can you say to that person?
Look, one of the key aspects that I can say to one is that you must never think the situation that you are within during that moment is a rich end, because there are so much that you can do outside there, but because of the space that you are centralized at, you might not think that you are in that good level of space that you can achieve other things. So I'll advise one to say, no, stretch yourself out, man. Don't be introvert to such an extent that you might fail because you don't reach out to other people. I can tell you, we did not arrive into university basically because we had so much knowledge about universities. But we reached out to those who were in a university space so that they can assist us to be in a university space. At this point, we are willing to assist even in our communities. We reach out to those who are in secondary level to say, no, look, we are there to assist you. and we are there to provide the relevant information if needed. What is important for you is to focus so that you achieve whatever that you want to achieve. One might say that it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So is a say that we are where we are and we grow up as many as we are at this stage today because of the village that we came from.
So is that one of the reasons that made you to be a revolutionist?
Yes, I can tell you there are many out there who were not conscientized to become revolutionaries, but the conditions that they were having at their villages and stuff, or the conditions that they encountered in universities made them to become conscious to such an extent that they started to realize what is wrong and what is right. If you know someone who gets everything on a silver platter might not even realize what this is wrong and this is right, basically because he never suffered any conditions. Everything to him is easier, or everything to her is easier. So our conditions are the one that conscientized us to be revolutionaries as we are. I can tell you at the secondary level, I never even thought that one day I'll become a student activist, because I was never exposed to such things even in secondary level. Remember, COSAS did not prevail in our secondaries at the villages. It was something that was taking place more specifically in townships. So in villages, we never had a structure called COSAS. So we started to become exposed to political structures and political organization through university level. So that's why I'm saying the conditions that we encountered within the space of the university are the one that made us to become political conscious and to realize that there's a rights for education and there's a human rights, all these subsections of the constitution that are entitled to humans.
Speaking about political parties, we are going to 2024 elections, and which political party do you think maybe it can be the one that can lead this country?
Now, you see, it has been a declaration among, if I can relate to you, within the university sector, is that you can see that EFF Student Command is taking over all the university, 26 universities in the country. Out of all 26 universities in the country, we are governing almost 20 to 21. That on its own, it shows that the youth of South Africa is tired about the governance of the ANC and SASCO in university side. So if the youth, which is the most voiceful people in the country, are tired at the university, what does it tell you about the national politics?
But there's MK as well.
No. Don't tell us about new beans of comrades who have bitterness of deployments. You see, political structures like MK are wounded cadres who did not get a space that they wanted in the governance of ANC. So with that failure, they went and formed Mkondo Wesizwe. Actually, I don't even like to speak about it because next year we might no longer be speaking about it anymore. But however, if you can check, the political ambassador of MK is a former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, the most corrupt president that we have ever had in the country. What does it say to you? It says that all the members of the MK are the wounded cadres who come from ANC because they never had a light to steal the money within the ANC governance. That's whereby they went to form MK so that they can have a privilege to steal money from South Africans. So MK and ANC, there's no difference. It's just a wife and a man who are divorced but who are still sharing
the same bed.
The same bed, or they are still sharing. There was a settlement of properties.
Because Jacob Zuma says he is making this party relevant because he wants to save the ANC from its own corruption. But you spoke about bitterness. Isn't the same thing that happened whereby Jacob Zuma went out and opened up a political party, which is MK? The same thing also that happened with Julius Malema while he left the ANC Youth League. Then he opened up a political party called the EFF.
There's a difference between former President Jacob Zuma and former President of ANC Youth League Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema. Julius Malema was expelled from the ANC. One of the reasons why he was expelled, it was because he was against some of the policies that the ANC was implementing. All right. So the difference with that is that Jacob Zuma left ANC because of the corrupt activities that he has done. All right.
Yeah.
He was not expelled, by the way. He was not expelled. However, because after his presidency's term of office, the new president Cyril Ramaphosa, that's whereby he instigated investigations against the activities that were taking place during the presidential office of Jacob Zuma. Thereby, Jacob Zuma felt like Ramaphosa is undermining him, or he wants to take him down. That's whereby now is a revenge. Him opening a party called MK is a revenge against the governance of President Cyril Ramaphosa. So that if he can downgrade the governance of Cyril Ramaphosa, then reinstate MK to have numbers. Basically, that its own tells you what that President Zuma has more power than Cyril Ramaphosa. So there is a difference between how President of EFF Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema went out became expelled from ANC Youth League, and how President Jacob Zuma left ANC. By the way, remember President Jacob Zuma was still a member of ANC while MK was formed. So that on its own shows that he wanted, if he was not suspended recently, he will still be a member of ANC. But because he saw that after the establishment of MK, then MK started to get momentum on ground level. That's whereby the Secretary General of ANC, Fikile Mbalula, suspended former President Jacob Zuma from ANC.
So do you think maybe by any means possible, the MK can work hand in hand with the EFF, because they are also fighting for the land expropriation themselves?
You see, if one can listen more specifically on the speeches that the Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema makes, he can tell you one thing, and one thing for sure, that he's not against any political structure, or he's not against any political organization. However, he's against any organization that does not promote equality of South Africans and does not want to provide proper adequate service delivery to South Africans, and is anti any organization that is advocating for corruption in the country. So we can work with MK only if the principle of MK is to provide services to South Africans. We can work with ANC only if ANC is willing to bring land to its rightful owners without any compensation.
That goes to coalition government.
Yes. Remember, we're working very properly, if you can check, in Ekurhuleni. As we are speaking at this stage, the MMC of Safety and Security in Ekurhuleni is going to Sebokeng to go and advocate for service delivery, for license renewals, and all transportation sector issues that people are facing in that side. So we are working very well even under coalition governance, only if the principle of those organizations that we are in coalition with is to advocate for service delivery for South Africans.
Do you think John Stenius, and by any means necessary, he can also take this country forward?
Now, I don't know. No, there's one of the things that we must realize, that there's a segregation of class, and there's a racial segregation, which organization like Democratic Alliance, they are always advocating for. Truly speaking, if there's a South African that still believes that the Democratic Alliance is for black people, that person on its own is living in a land that there is no light, there's always darkness upon, because he cannot see what the future holds. All right. So you can even see, even in the university sectors, You have never seen a white student in Soshanguve.
Never.
You have never seen a white student on a queue in Soshanguve.
Never.
But there are some white students who have obtained qualifications from TUT Soshanguve. My question is one. How do these students register? Basically, it shows that there is a class segregation. This student does not encounter financial exclusion. They do not encounter academic exclusion. But in the workspace, they are there. They are there. You have never, I can tell you, the only campus that you can see a white student is Pretoria West in Red campus.
Yeah.
But in all other satellite campuses, Polokwane, Emalahle, and Mbombela, it's only black students.
So do you think free decolonized education can work?
It can work.
Is it for the white or for the black?
You see, the decolonized education is for the black, so that black people in particular can be able to associate themselves with the higher education system in a particular way that favors them, and in a particular way that is transparent and accountable. Because now, without any free education, most of our senior students or most of learners who are in grade 12 at this stage, they can't fulfill their dreams because one will fail even to raise a registration fee money. So to my question, if you fail to raise 5,000 of registration for UG, how will you sustain yourself for the whole year? By just having just normal things, food,
Tuition.
sanitary towels, just domestic things that you need to use on daily basis. We are not speaking about luxury like laptops and stuff, because when we are going to speak about luxurious things, it's going to be worse, because what we want is just to survive so that we can complete our qualification. So how will that person pay fees? Worst part, the very same system of NSFAS is dominance. The administration of NSFAS is dominance of white people. They are the one who make regulation on how one should be approved or not.
So how can that issue be resolved?
So we are fighting a system here.
We have a black person there who's a minister called Black Demand.
We have a system. The system that is we have a system that is dominance of white people. All right. However, these white people, they are not the face of this system. That's whereby they put people like Blade Zuma as a minister. However, what Blade can do is not to take decisions upon himself. Blade have to report to the board. The board that is dominance of white people. Basically, that board is going to advocate the supremacy of white people. So when Blade comes back with to make speeches about the intake of NSFAS and the allowances and stuff, he's going to present the things that are written to him, because the decisions are not taken by him.
When I look at back at 2015 at the Fees Must Fall campaign, you won in terms of we're removing Blade Demand. So what brought him back again into being a minister of these things of education? So now, and those cadres that were also forming part and parcel of the Fees Must Fall, who saying that no to Blade Demand, we don't want Blade Demand, they're now working hand in hand with him as a cabinet. I've forgotten the name of that person, but he works hand in hand. He was against that policies and principles whereby Blade was surpassing upon the students, particularly in South Africa. Now they are working upon, in terms of they are around him, they are also forming part and parcel of that cabinet, but still there are no changes in terms of NSFAS. What can you say about that?
You see, my brother, there's one thing that I will practically show to you, that the governing body, the governing party, is a rejuvenation of old people. It's a cycle, these people. One will become a minister of mineral resource this year. Next year, when they reshuffle, He leaves from mineral resource because there will be maladministration. He goes to Minister of Tourism. From Minister of Tourism, he goes to Minister. Just check it, Figilembalo.
Yeah.
You see, so you see, so you can see that there is no new people within these offices of political offices. It's just these old people changing offices, like is a soccer field whereby you just people and substitute and say this one from here to there for this one. Even if these people, there is no sufficient and efficient administration from their previous offices. If he was in office for a certain period, his office did not produce a standard and that are sufficient to the service delivery of the South Africans. And there was a report, a formal report that indicated that such minister underperformed within this department. But next year when they reshuffle, they take the very same minister to another department. What does it tell you?
And mind you, high unemployment is very high these days for the youth especially.
And we have high level of unemployment. You see, and another thing that even make our service delivery to become poor is that political office, most of this political deployment does not require a qualified specialist within these offices. You find someone who did has a diploma in tourism, is a minister of minerals in South Africa. You see, then you question yourself. This person knows nothing about mining, but is a minister of minerals. You find someone with a diploma of social affairs, or a person with a diploma in teaching is a minister of water and sanitation. You see, so that on its own tells you that with this governing party, we will never overcome the challenges that we are facing, because the people that are holding these offices, by virtue of their occupational qualifications, they don't have specializations within these issues that we're encountering. What they will tell you is to give you reports that are written by administrators, reports that are written by board members. They don't have anything. That's why Mbalula will just arrive in office, make a media briefing that load shedding will come to an end within 3 weeks. Then you'll find there's this minister of ESCOM now called Sputla. Then Sputla comes and make a contrary statement that load shedding cannot be ended, but we can sustain the load shedding stages from a reduction of stage 3 to stage 4 and stuff. You see, so it's because you have people who are in offices, but they speak useless things that they don't even have an idea of. You see, you can't. Truly speaking, we can't have a minister of minerals and resources, someone who's having a diploma in tourism. He doesn't even know anything regarding minerals. You see, so the policy of EFF is the only policy that advocate for service delivery. Why? Because in the EFF, academic excellence is one of the principles that we even we recommend, and is one of the principles that we uphold to ensure that anyone who holds a political office, firstly, the person must have the adequate qualifications within that office. Secondly, the person must be a principal lead. We can't have someone who have corrupt cases before then we come and deploy that person to a political office. What does it say? Is an umbrella to an organization. If the person have pending cases, he must leave office, so that those who don't have any pending cases then can be able to uphold the office with a very responsible and transparent man. So we're very fortunate that we are the youth that were breeded by the policies of the EFF Student Command and the policies of the EFF. So with that, I can tell you, my brother, that even the Student Command, one of its principles is to ensure that it promotes teaching and learning, and all members of the Student Command must advocate for education in the country.
So speaking about the deployment of the governing part, I made my research. There's something called the spoils. So the spoils in the governing part, it's whereby they deploy people who were there in war, or maybe who are being loyal or have been loyal to the party. People like Gwede Mandashe, people like Jacob Zuma. Remember, Jacob Zuma is a grade 3 student, Len. Yet he was deployed in being the president of this country. Then the EFF utilized this one of merit, whereby we're not looking at how loyal have you been to the party, but are you qualifying in terms of qualification? Hence, if you can have a vacancy somewhere, the EFF speaks about Dr. Mbuyise Ndlozi, they speak about Dr. Ndalimpofu. You see, there's a lot of doctrine in the EFF. So I've looked at that thing, which they're utilizing. So I think it's killing the country if they're utilizing these things of sports, because now we're putting there people who are not adequate enough or excellent enough in terms of we want to take this country forward. Yeah, they are old, they are tired, they have sugar diabetes now. They are now equipping their legacy. Speaking about the EFF Student Command, there was a brief thing that was shared online that Sihle Loans, the president of EFF Student Command, is going to national. Which national? Because I was confused. Is it parliament or somewhere nationally there?
You see, let me firstly attend to the one of spoil that the ANC government is using. You see, my brother, when you want to bring change, the first thing that you have to do first is to put people who can change the system within that portfolios. You see, now we're in 2024. While we're in 2024, you have a cabinet of ANC that does not have a 24-year or 26-year-old person. It is dominance of 70 to 80, 60 age group people. How will that change be activated? Because if you want change must start through you and must be within you first. So you can't be an organization that is saying we want a change in the country so that there can be a high level of employment, but you still have old people within your offices. Why don't you start by changing those people from their offices and put those who are energetic enough to ensure that they can stabilize change of high employment in the country, advocate for educational stability in the country, so that even those who are at secondary level, they become empowered and inspired. Because if you see a person on the age of 29 being a member of a parliament, that on its own is an inspiration to a grade 6 to grade 7 learner. Because he will want to become, or he will want to be inspired by the person of a particular age. You can't be inspired by a Kwatamanda. You can see the pot belly is too much. You see? So what inspiration does he have to a person at my age? Because I can't be inspired to be like Kwatamanda. Actually, at my age, I will want to maintain my lifestyle so that I won't be like Kwatamanda because he's a disgrace to the youth. You see, so that's why I'm saying to you that if you want to stabilize change, you must be the change you are saying. That's why the merit of EFF in terms of deployment is very adequate to say we need a certain person with a certain qualification to occupy a certain office. You see, so that the masses at the ground level can be inspired to even further their educational studies. Because we can't have a person who's just saying, no, Nage Khalekele, a member of EFF, I'm a loyal cadre of an EFF since it was founded. But when you ask this person, okay, what is your highest level of qualification? Standard is grade 10 or grade 8. So do you think such a person, if he occupies a position of MMC in safety and security, will he become an inspiration to a doctor within a university sector that is specializing in criminology? Will that person be able to share a constructive debate with a person of a certain standard? He can't. Because first thing first, one thing that will make me to undermine you is your level of education. All right. Secondly, your reasoning capacity is going to also to determine the level of discussion we're going to have going forward. So some of the things that we will always advocate and we always preach, even to our offspring, is to ensure that education must be a key role player in your life. Whether is on a diploma or a BTech or a doctorate or a master's, but we want to advocate for education in this country, and that's one of the principles that we want to ensure that members of the student command, even if some of us who are going to mother body to be as members of EFF to become conscious members of communities in our villages, but we want to say to our former leaders that education must be key, and all students must have access to education. All learners must have access to education without any disturbance, without any obstacles that will be in their way to reach their end goals and end dreams.
Because if you speak about access to education, I'm also thinking about, especially when they went on the Sunday World, I've forgotten which platform did they use for confabulation. Hence, he was coming back from Russia. He spoke about if this thing of free education comes, he will be happy because he won't even be able to pay the current fees that he has at his own university. So he'll be very much happy in terms of what I can pay, because I can't afford that money. Why is the government raising the standard of education while now we are coming from marginalized families, we come from disenfranchised families, we come from a background which is not favorable to the black person in terms of funds, in terms of allowances. So how has it been? Hence, Sihlelonze has been the president of Student Command, and he occupied almost every universities in South Africa.
You see, my brother, one of the things that I'll always say to you is that since the establishment of EFF Student Command, many students, and when I say many, I'm speaking about a lot of students, had access to higher institution of higher learning compared to when the EFF Student Command was not yet established in higher institution of higher learning. So that on its own is an indication that the EFF Student Command have been working, and for one to be proven that we have been working, students have to believe in you and give you much support to such an extent that you win campuses now and then. If students were not having access to higher institution of learning, if students were not happy with the governance of EFF Student Command, I can tell you today we wouldn't even be governing any campuses or any institution at this point. But because we've always ensured that student first at any cost, we always ensure that student must be assisted in any level of cost within the university. Student must be assisted without having to pay anything. You see, I want to tell you now that even next year, since the Student Command is in charge of many universities, many students are still going to have access to university, are still going to have access to accommodation. You see, so once we take over on the 24th, on the 29th of May this year, I'm telling you, no students is going to pay any registration. The EFF Commandants is going to make sure that all students are going to have free access of education in institution of higher learning. We are not going to even politicize it. Even student leaders that are going to be in office, they must just be aware and be ready that our students must access education with no cost, and they must be given accommodation with no cost. Because this thing of them that the ANC have introduced, you see, when we remember, we were part and parcel of the struggle of Fees Must Fall, even though we were not in the forefront or as leaders, but we were part of the student activists that were there when we went to Union Building to advocate for free education for all. Then the ANC governance during the presidency of Zuma declared that free education without any plan in hand, and there were many proposals that they were sent to their office to say this is how we can attain free education, but they never considered those things. Presidency just declared free education for all, but there was no implementation of it up until they started to implement this thing of saying there is no students are no longer going to pay back NSFAS, but now NSFAS becomes free. Then now when NSFAS becomes free to students, to say is a loan, it's no longer a loan. The budget start to become very limited. Then that on its own, it shows that ANC is not for youth, because most of the youth that are in the ANC, they don't get funding because there's budget cuts now and then. Where is that money going to? Now, because we were prior elections, you see too many activities of ANC officials at our institution. They want to deplete the budget that has been in their offices before their term of office elapsed. Why didn't they use that budget to make those activities?
So there was this thing that was called Izaka. So people were saying it was a money laundering system. Are they not using that money?
You see, that in my entire student activism, I've never seen such a money scheme like Izaka before. You see, because that it was a deliberate a fraud. Remember, when you become fraudulent to a poor person, I don't even know what kind of criminal should I call you, because you are a worst of the worst. You say you take money from those who need it most. You give it to those who don't need it most, so that you can be able to fund your political campaigns. That was what those fintech companies were appointed for. They were appointed to take money from NSFAS so that they can be able to fund their political campaigns for national elections, because they saw it was going to be difficult to steal money from NSFAS directly. So they appointed subcontracts to dispense money to students, so that they can be a certain charges that they charge students from their disbursements of their allowances. That on its own, the very same service providers that have been given contracts, they are going to use the money to fund ANC governance during political election campaigns. So there, just imagine, my brother, even a bank on its own does not charge a person that much money. You just check your account on an ATM to check balance, 10 rand gone. You see, just to check your balance, whether it went through or it did not went through, 10 rand gone. If you were having 40 rand, you wanted to take that 40 rand out, withdraw it out, but you wanted to check first, or it's still 40 rand. Just to check that balance, 10 rand gone. Then just to proceed to take the 30 rand, is no longer going to take out that 30 rand, because there's 750 of withdrawal. So you have to take 26 rand 50 out. So that it was a very fraudulent activity. That's why during my term of office, we made sure that we fight that Izaka thing, we fight that fintech companies thing to such an extent that one of the presidential official of Pretoria campus even made a declaration to the Constitutional Court against this matter. And I'm very happy that in the year 2024, our students are getting their allowances without any issues, because Izaga is no longer in hand.
So when you speak about court, the CEO of NSFAS, that one who was said in the media, he stole billions of rand, he was taken to court. So do you think by any means necessary you also won that case? Because there are rumors saying that around April or May this year, the Ezaka thing is also coming back.
No. One thing that I will say, you see, in when you are in a revolution, if you manage to take out the system that it was oppressing students, and that system goes out, that's a political achievement you have won, my brother. Whether they try by all means to bring it back from the back doors, but my advice is to ensure and is to say to those who are in offices now, who are leading students, that if they try to bring fintech companies back, fight them by all means necessary. You must fight them without any fear nor favor. Even if they can promise anything to you, fight them up until, because that on its own, if you allow them to come back, it will be selling the soul of a person and a black student in particular, those who need money in any desperate manner.
So 2 questions, then we can chop it up. In your out of office being the DPSG, what are the challenges or the cliches that you faced, and what are the solutions that you brought about? Hence, we have now known about the Ezaka issue, that you fought by all means necessary. You gave out your best in terms of fighting this thing of Ezaka. So what are the other challenges that you faced in terms of your out of office? Then how did you encounter with them and brought about solutions?
You see, I'm one of the principal cadre that when I fight something, I fight it with all my effort, and I ensure that even those who are in offices feeling icons there, they will know at the ground level that there's a fight that has been established. You see, so one of the struggle that we implemented, and it was successful even this year, is that we ensured that more specifically, students from Soshanguve who are residing 20 kilos from Soshanguve were removed from all those residences that are far, because the impacts of such was that students encounter fatigue. Once students encounter fatigue, their academic achievement declines, because that fatigueness leads to academic exclusion. Then when a student is academically excluded, that on its own leads to financial exclusion. So the level of exclusion that we were having, the challenges of exclusion that we were having, I'm very happy that even this year it will decline, because our students are having residents that are not far away from their campuses. They can travel 3 to 4 minutes to their campus. They can travel 5 to 6 minutes to their campus. Unlike when a student have to travel for 15 to 20 minutes to arrive in a campus. If a student is writing at an 8 o'clock, is writing an exam, particularly that student must be awake around 5:30 to 6 so that he can catch an early bus around 7. When, remember, these people are traveling from far, Pretoria West, Junction. Such students, if there is an accident along the road and the road is blocked, basically that student won't be able to write an exam, because there are no alternative roads on the R8, R81. There's no alternative. If the R81 is stuck, then you miss an exam. How will you justify to the examination board or to the department that you missed an exam because of an accident? And that accident that transpired, you were not a victim directly, basically, because it's not the transportation of yours that encountered an accident, it's other vehicles, but you become an indirect victim. You see, so those are the battles that we always advocated during my term of office. Secondary to that, we ensured that the corrupt activities that have been taking place in the campuses must no longer even resume anymore. Because during the governance of SASCO, it's like we were in a money scheme university. Everything, it was transactional. You see, that's why a student lost hope upon them. And we even encourage that student must keep that again. The EFF student command must always be in governance so that a lot of activities in campus can take place. You see. So I don't want to dwell much because the current leadership will say that I'm proclaiming a lot of victories while they are still in office.
One of the clips that I saw, I think it was last year, it was the one of graduate where you were speaking about the issue Ukuti. Let the graduate have their certificate, then they can go out and work so that they can be able to pay their fees, because this thing of the university holding their certificate and expect them to pay back the fees while they are not working, how are they supposed to pay back the university while they are holding the certificate so that they can be able to go out there and apply for jobs? How did that issue came about?
You know, my brother, is very painful. As seated as I am, I'm one of the graduates. I can't get access to my BTech. Luckily, I managed to get hold of my diploma. But at this stage, I can't get hold of my BTech. I can't get hold of my academic record, which is inclusive of diploma, BTech. I can't get hold of it. I can't apply for job opportunities because they want that academic record, you see. So imagine the one who does not even have that diploma and he's a graduate and he can't have access to an academic record. The policy of the university will say to you, if you need your academic record, let the employer send an email directly to graduation so that they can send an academic record directly to the employer. Then if you ask, that system by its own is not effective, because the root of the initial stage is for me to have an academic record to apply for that vacancy first, before I can even be considered for an interview, before I can even be considered for shortlisting. There have to be an academic transcript that shows the employer that this person meet the standard requirement of the vacancy. So our people are struggling, our graduates are struggling, and I so wish that as convocants we can take this struggle forward, because we were preaching by all means to ensure that our graduates receive their qualifications and now and then. Luckily some managed to get their qualification last year, and if you can check the outstanding fees, who caused the outstanding fees? It's NSFAS. Most of our graduates were funded by NSFAS. NSFAS did not pay their fees. Now the students are the victim of NSFAS. Then why can't the ANC government hold NSFAS accountable for the students? Because there is a 2017, 2016 graduate who does not even have his diploma at his hand now because of NSFAS. When you send emails to NSFAS, they will just keep on saying, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you. What happens to your future?
Declines.
Now, when you go to employment equity, they are going to tell you about that age group of application is 35. So if you are more than 35, you're no longer qualified for employment.
And they ask for job experience while you have never worked before.
You have never. How can you work? Because you don't have your own qualification that you've studied for. You are at the age of 36. You don't have an academic record. You don't have a diploma that you've studied for. The Employment Equity of South Africa under Labour Relation Act says that you must be under 35 for you to be considered for employment. Why don't they also establish a deployment policy that have the very same age restrictions when they do political deployment in their organization, that you can't be deployed to an office if you are more than 46, if your age is older than 46. So politicians under the governance of ANC, they are more prioritized than graduates. That's the reality of the matter, because if you can deploy a blade at the age of 60 to 70 plus to be a minister, but we are saying a 36-year-old graduate or a graduate of public affairs qualification cannot be employed, then where must that graduate go to? Because one thing that they will do to you is give you an internship of 2 years. You are at the age of 30, they give you an internship of 2 years. After 2 years, they don't give you a contract. Back to square one, struggle. They are saying you can't be in an internship for 2 times. So basically it means if you've been in an internship for 2 years, after that 2 years, you are done. Back to the recycle bin. At the age of 35, you are no longer qualified for employment. So you see, there are too many policy amendments that has to be made in South Africa, but they can't be made with the current governing party because it promotes ageism on its own. It promotes ageism. We can't have an organization that is dominated by age group people who are holding office of power. No. We can't have such an organization.
But I know during your time, we are more than grateful that there were people like you who are able to lay down their lives and say, no, allow me to be the Jesus of this time. Allow me to be the sacrificial lamb that I fight for my people, regardless of where I come from or what I do. I will put that aside. But also my interest is to the people, more especially to those who are students in particular. Now, as the closing of the show, we always have a last question whereby we ask our engagers, Uguti, what would you say to a person at your age and younger than you?
No. There's not much words to say to a person at my age or younger than me, but there's only one thing that I can say to a person is that don't sleep or don't get relaxed and expect to see new things tomorrow. You see, one thing that will always ensure that one becomes a very responsible person is to ensure that you must make an effort on daily basis so that tomorrow you can be able to point something. Because if you become dependent on a certain thing without you making a contribution, then that on its own is a failure, because there's no going to be any outcomes because there's no contribution at all. So I'm just saying to young people there, make sure that when a day passes, there's something that you have done, so that when the day comes, there's something that you are going to show.
No, we thank you so much as the Live Season TV. It's an honor, by the way. I thought that it would change to be an engagement as a same was, so we thought that it could be, but now it turned into an interview. I'm learning so much. I'm keeping knowledge, but I've always been curious. How did your relationship with Tawa come about? I've been curious. You guys are so close.
No. You see, I don't think there's anything of attachments between the two of us, but there's only one thing that made a contributory factor so that we get along. Is hard work. You see, hard work is the only thing that can make two people to get along, because there's an end goal at the end of the day. If you can see that the person close to you is a hard worker, I can tell you by all means you'll not make a mistake of distancing yourself from him.
No, I wish to go on and ask you. You are gifted by pointing potential. How did you grasp that gift? Because You saw me at my first day. I didn't know anything. I was a Christian there. I come from non-active place of politics. But you said, this young man, there's something. Because I was staying with Tower during back then as my first year. He equipped me in terms of politics. He told me about cadres like about Small Zondo, about Kili. He used to show me about Kili, about Paul Morellan, the former president of the EFF Student Command. He showed me people like, introduced me people to like President General Mashila. He said, these are the people. Then Mashila took me to be part of the BSCT. How were you equipped in terms of pointing potential?
Now, you see, I can't say, maybe it's the character that I learned from my senior cadres as well, because as well I was identified. I'm not a person who was just willingly to go and say, no, I'm affiliating with a gigantic movement of students, which is EFF Student Command. I was identified because comrades saw potential on me as well. So that on its own gave me a different character when it comes to other people to say, if these people saw something different from me, why don't I learn what they saw from them so that I can be able to oversee from other people or the same character that they saw to me. That's how it becomes easier for me to say, well, okay, this is the kind of person that you can work closely with, and this is the kind of person that have a certain standard of charisma that he uphold on himself. It becomes easy. You don't even need to question a person to say, where are you from and stuff. No. Just a small interaction with that person, it will lead to something big that you never thought it can lead to.
No, we thank you so much. We thank you so much, my brother.
No issues.
It's a huge appreciation, and we are joined by the Janjetic one here. It's an honor. It's an honor.
No issues.
No, so those who are watching there, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I'm with the former Deputy President General of Tshwane University of Technology. It was very influential and very contradicting. It raised about the sense of consciousness in us that you are to be a revolutionist to your own spectrum and also to your own cosmology in terms of your life, not just in student politics, but grow mentally, grow consciously, grow intellectual-wise, and also academically. I am Lee. What it is, isn't what will always be. Life isn't.
Today, I can't imagine my price today. Niggas been thinking for eyes today. Never been thinking about price today. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my flame of my business. I'm a brand of my business. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my flame of my business. I'm a brand of my business. I don't smoke.